Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Aaron Lapidus, Vice President of JBL Financial Services, and I'm joined this week and every single week by my husband, Robert Markham.
Good morning.
And my dad, who, unlike Farmer Dave, is not quite yet retired, but he's walking in right now, ready to join us this morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind. Welcome.
Thanks, babe. First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one you can count on, so you can do all the things you'd like to do in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their healthcare needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be. With Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and Rob and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches.
Well, good morning.
Well, good morning. I'm sorry. I was trying to unpack the car quick.
You just flew in, just running down the gangway.
Exactly. But it's great to be back in the saddle again, as it would be.
In the studio, did you hear? I heard just on the radio, Farmer Dave is retiring on Friday.
Good for him.
Right? How cool is that?
It's cool for him, no question. I wonder who's going to take over.
It's a great question. I don't have that answer.
I don't have the answer either, but we do have answers to your questions. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line.
And you know what? As our first Saturday of April, we have a brand new newsletter that you can access if you log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. And if you click on the lower left-hand side of the screen and the pop-up box that appears that says sign up for our monthly newsletter, just give us your email address, phone number, and name, and we'll send that out to you every single month by email. Or you can access it and the last 6 to 12 months on our website. But Rob, why don't you give us a nice overview of what everyone can expect from this month's newsletter?
Got some great articles in there you're surely going to love. And the first one being rising enrollment in Medicare Advantage plans. The percentage of Medicare beneficiaries enrolled in Medicare Advantage plans has risen substantially since 2005. About 50% of all Medicare beneficiaries are projected to be enrolled in an Advantage plan this year. You know, this is not surprising, and we've covered this many times, given how much Medicare Advantage plans are offering these days, from the over-the-counter benefits, the copay cards, the fitness allowance, the hearing aids, the dental benefits. More and more Medicare enrollees are taking advantage of Advantage plans.
And this is really a very timely article because we just heard the past week or maybe the previous week that the Biden administration was attempting to cut payments to Medicare Advantage plans, and that some hospital systems are having trouble negotiating rates with Medicare Advantage plans. I would just say that in our area, so, if you can hear our voices, the Missouri metro area, the St. Louis metro area, Southern Illinois, we have access to some of the best Medicare Advantage plans in the country, some of the largest networks available. Our hospital systems tend to negotiate very well with Medicare Advantage plans. I even was notified this past week that we're going to have a new company in Missouri offering Medicare Advantage for open enrollment next year that should be offering some new and different benefits than the traditional policies that we have talked about on the radio over the last several years. So I would say that, as many people know, Medicare Advantage plans are regionalized. Even if you have access to a national company like Aetna, United, Cigna, Humana, your plan is very different than if you were to access a plan in Florida and California and New York. So when you are reading national articles about Medicare Advantage, just keep in mind that we're pretty lucky here in Missouri and Illinois. So those things don't necessarily apply.
And I know that, especially from your grandma's plan when she came over from Pennsylvania, the out-of-pockets are lower.
Oh, my God.
Co-pays are better.
When Grandma came from Pennsylvania, she was on an HMO style plan. Her maximum out of pocket was $8,900.
Wow.
The average maximum out of pocket on an HMO style plan is much closer to $3,000 in Missouri and Illinois. So right there, even if Grandma kept hitting her maximum out of pocket every year, she was automatically going to save $5,000+
And that really didn't even cover the drugs. That's outside the RX benefit.
That's exactly right. When we discuss maximum out of pockets, that's always referring to just the medical side of your Medicare benefits, whereas many people have, the main issue that people have with Medicare is the cost of prescriptions. However, over the next few years, that's also going to thankfully diminish with some maximums on the prescription drug side as well. Hopefully those changes will stay in place over the next several years. Next year, we're anticipated to see a $3,000 max on the prescription side of things.
I use some of the Medicare Advantage regional plans that are offered here as a sweetener to get my dad to
move.
Yeah, because they don't offer the same sweeteners that we get here back east, and so I'm like, you have to move.
It will be so much more cost effective for you, Dad.
Get another election period and let's go.
Right.
Yep. No,
Well, it's funny because yesterday in the mail, they finally started sending the mail back to my Missouri residents here, is that I got something from Aetna, which was about my one of the special benefit provisions that we have. And I'm dying to send in my greens fees.
Oh, my God.
From California.
Cannot wait.
Get reimbursed. Woohoo!
Yep. Oh, got to do it. Take advantage of everything they're offering.
Exactly. So, Rob, what are some of the other articles you're doing with this month?
The next one is understanding the different types of life insurance. For many people, life insurance is the cornerstone of their financial game plan, especially when they're just beginning their careers, buying their first home, starting their families. This is a great article highlighting the different types of life insurance most commonly sold. And our next article, skepticism towards higher education rises. There has been a notable shift in public opinion over the last 10 years about the value of a college degree that could portend a reckoning for the higher education industry in the years ahead. 56% of Americans said that a 4-year college degree is not worth the money paid due to students graduating with significant debt and a lack of specific job skills versus 42% who said it was still worth it. 10 years ago, those numbers were flipped. The burden of student loans, this is non-dischargeable debt, and the rising cost of a 4-year degree far outstrips inflation over the last 10 years, probably play a huge role in these numbers. And just as an aside, looking at some of the things that go on these college campuses, I can definitely see why people are feeling the way they're feeling. But
Well, for, all the moms and dads and maybe even grandmas and grandpas out there that started 529 plans for their children or their grandchildren, the nice thing is with this skepticism has coupled some changes to 529 plan rules where if your children or grandchildren, whomever you have created those 529 plans for, if they don't use all of or they have any remaining money inside those 529 plans, it's no longer trapped there, or you don't have to transfer that to another child or grandchild. Over the course of several years, they should be able to transfer that into a Roth IRA for themselves. So, and I just had this conversation with some grandparents that happen to be clients yesterday during a chat. They happen to be some of the lucky people that don't need to use all of the required minimum distribution. So they were thinking of some ways that they could maximize that extra cash that they're going to have to take out of their IRA accounts. And one of the ideas their children so smartly came up with was, hey, Mom and Dad, you could put some of that into a 529 plan for the grandchildren. And I said the nice thing here is if you decide to do that, if they receive scholarships or if they decide to do something else aside from go to college, then the money's not trapped there anymore. You can actually help them really build their retirement savings by eventually having that transferred into Roth accounts in their names.
I believe you have a 15-year period.
Yep, you have to hold it in there for 15 years, which, if you is, no tricks, right? If you create the 529 plan for what it was originally intended, which is you think the kids or the grandkids are going to go to college, most likely it'll be in there for 15 years. It's from the creation date, not the last contribution date. So as soon as you put the first dollar in, then after it's been in for 15 years, they can begin to convert it using the maximum contribution limits. This year it's $7,000 into a Roth account. So like I said, as opposed to the past where if one child didn't use that money, you could move it into another child's name so it wasn't lost money. But now you can really leave that gift that you've given to each individual for them because they'll be able to convert it into Roth.
Very cool.
And our last article, really fun one, I enjoyed it, is how to kill your zombie subscriptions. And zombie subscriptions are auto-renewing services that people sign up for, then forget about or rarely use. Common examples include phone, TV, music, news subscriptions, health and fitness memberships. And I can understand why someone wouldn't get rid of, you have an old Planet Fitness, membership.
If you get rid of it.
Right. Then you've totally declared I'm not going, there's no way back for you. I've completely,
I've given up on the exercise benefit.
Right.
Robert, I resemble that remark. Thank you.
Hey, green fees count as long as you don't use the cart.
But getting rid of these unnecessary or unused reoccurring charges could help balance your household budget and direct that money towards more useful endeavors. First thing I would first move on the chessboard, conduct an audit, scrutinize your credit card statement so you can identify a zombie subscription and get rid of it before the charges really add up.
And honestly, even the best of us sometimes fall into this trap. I realized a few years ago that I had 3 Hulu accounts. I was paying 3 times for the same account. It's great.
And, they're not going to,
They don't refund the money, but they
they're
do
not
generously
even say,
cancel
hey,
it for you.
You have 3 of them. Maybe we'll, put you at one. They're more than happy to take your money. And,
so true.
So you have to really scrutinize those credit card bills to make sure that you're not being zombified.
Zombified.
We call it the Coach's Corner. Easy to access. Go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on that Coach's Corner newsletter icon, which shows up on every single page. Or go to the bottom left-hand side. Subscribe if you would. We'd love to send it to you every single month by email. But if for some reason your computer's on the fritz, you know what to do. Give us a call, 314-863-0008, or send us an email. Go to the Contact Us section and send us an email. We'd be happy to get this out to you until your computer gets back off of the fritz as it would be.
Before we get into our topics, we've got our first excellent comment of the day.
And our texter writes, we used our RMD funds, not all of them, to prepay plan and lock in the cost of our funerals. Not anything fun, but necessary.
This is a great idea. I mean, most people don't really like to engage in this because it, means they have to face mortality. But not just locking in the cost of the funeral, but really the pre-planning piece of it, I think takes a lot of stress and burden off of your family members. What are you thinking about?
I think you're looking at me like that should be. It's interesting.
Lock it in.
Your mom and I did. It's funny because your mom and I did have this conversation.
I was there
the other day.
Well, I wasn't there for the follow-up convo.
No, which is fine. So it's something that I don't know if we like you enough. We'll give you a little aggravation.
Well,
a little stress.
The first
a lot of stress.
The original conversation.
A lot of stress.
Not really, because the original conversation we had was the two of you couldn't agree, which is nice. So it seems like it's going to be the last person standing. But as I recall, you requested cremation, but I shouldn't spend any money on the urn. We just got to put you in the KFC bucket until Mom goes. Is that still a standing order?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, not at all. I just said, don't put me next to Grandma.
Oh, it's terrible.
She can be next to her mother for eternity.
I don't think there's any room. That place is all stocked up.
Yeah, it could be stocked up. These cemetery things they're not easy, but not a bad idea. There's nothing wrong with pre-planning.
Right.
Pre-planning is a good idea. I mean, locking in the fees is certainly not a bad idea. But, who knows what the fees are going to be 100 years from now when I'm gone, honey? What can I tell you?
Right, Moses.
Exactly. Me and Moses. That's what I've always said. But our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line. It's just great. I have to tell you, it's just great to be back.
It's great to have you back.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I was as I was driving over today, I did want to say something to my friends, as also many of our listeners we have listeners in California.
Oh.
And I'll miss you, my friends, but Elvis has left the building.
Done with California.
Amen. It's over.
It's over.
It's over. And actually, they delivered my car. They delivered my car and my golf cart
this morning.
About 40 minutes ago.
Well,
so it's
now
been
you're
a Chinese
officially back. Well, your belongings haven't returned yet, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, you have to pick me up every day now.
Oh, you're really enjoying that, the rides.
I love having my car back. The freedom.
I hear Florida is nice in the winter.
I am going to hopefully resemble that remark. We've got some people looking for us, but I think Florida's probably what's
Well, the
happen.
clients all know you so well, they were just beyond shocked every time they hear that you were in California. Like, what's he doing there? Why?
It was your mom. It's my turn now.
Nice that you guys are sharing.
She had 2 years. It's my turn now.
Better weather.
Better weather, lower income tax rate. I mean, I don't really see becoming a resident per se, but
no income taxes. That would be smart.
Well, no state income tax.
Right.
It's better than a poke in the eye, right?
Well, I think if you make money in Missouri, though, you still have to pay, so that probably won't help. Because, our employees in Illinois have to pay both. I think there's an offset, but...
Is there? It's more work. I don't like more work.
For Mom, our CFO of the house.
And CMO, Chief Mom Officer, as I like to call it.
Exactly.
But anyways, we'd love to hear from you this morning. We always have a lot of things on our mind. What's more important is what's on yours. Give us a call, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Honey, do we want to take our first break here and then maybe we'll or take a text?
Let's take a text, then let's take a break, and then we'll get to our first topic unless you all have some things on your mind, which we always prefer to talk about.
And our texter writes, tell everyone to check their cell phone bills with regards to saving money. We scrutinized our bill and noticed there had been an extra phone listed on our account for months that did not belong to anyone. We went to the store and purchased the phone, and they admitted that the extra number had been
somehow added. This
is a very convoluted text. And they did not know how it happened. Oh, I'm sure they didn't. They refunded the money
for just a few months.
That's terrible. Note to self, scrutinize every bill every month, not just once in a while. Could not agree more. And like I said, that was a really fun article about the zombie subscriptions, but it's one that everyone can relate to because, they've become so common now that you just have to go over it with a fine tooth comb.
And that, especially with the ease of being able to purchase things on your phone with just a couple of clicks, I think we've all, gotten, or many of us, not all of us, have gotten a little bit lax. But that almost seems like thievery because it wasn't like me on my accidentally signing up for 5 Hulu accounts. This was completely...
I just had something like that happen the other day. Your mom, who always scrutinizes her bills, looked at this and goes, "You've got this Microsoft charge for like $3.42. What is this?" I'm like, "Well, honey, it's not porn. I don't know what it is." Okay. So we called up, and it had nothing to. It was something that somebody actually they got into our account.
Oh.
So what I did was, your mom turned it off. Then I'm getting text from Microsoft where somebody's trying to, again, break into my Microsoft account where they're asking for passwords, et cetera. I ended up getting, I don't know, over the next 6 hours, I ended up getting like 45 of these people trying to get in. Of course, you just ignore them because what happens is it's not you. And they finally slowed down this morning. I guess the people gave up. But you have to be careful.
No, I hear that that's like a trial run. They try and sneak one in on you for like $2 or $3 just to see if it makes it past your radar, and that's when it's like, oh, we got them. But good thing Mel was on the case, and all of our listeners should be on the case because unfortunately this is the world we live in now, and we can't do anything about it other than be vigilant.
And you can't see the bad guys. That's the problem.
Right.
This is true.
Right. They're not stealing your wallet anymore. They're stealing out of your wallet. It's terrible. Anyway, let's take our first break of the hour. And when we get back, we'll get back to your text messages at 84126, or you are more than welcome to give us a call. We'd love to hear your voice, 314-931-5877. We'll be right back.
I'm Farmer Dave, and here's my good friend and owner of MasterCars Inc., Alex Rosenberger, with today's hot MasterCars Inc. deals.
Hey, Farmer Dave. It's spring, and we're selling Corvettes, performance, and luxury vehicles at a rapid pace. We're also selling Timpty Motorsport trailers, too. We're a factory-authorized dealer. We're aggressively buying, so reach out if you have something interesting or very low mile to sell. We have an impressive selection of motorcycles. We love taking them as trade-ins for cars, trucks, SUVs, and other motorcycles. We need that motorcycle inventory, so trading them will get you top dollar. As always, we have lenders ready to aggressively underwrite your loan at the lowest rates in the market. Jump on our site for easy pre-approval for your dream vehicle.
So rev that motor and point your car in the direction of MasterCars Inc. and buy or sell today. 4100 Namioki Road in Granite City, or visit MasterCarsInc.com to get more details. That's MasterCarsInc.com.
Every Wednesday, Lauren Risley and Josh and I,
of course,
right, talk about something in real estate, something in home improvement,
sometimes pizza,
sometimes that. But I'm always wondering, we see those signs that say, "I'll buy your house for cash." Should we be leery of that?
Unless there's someone out there just collecting houses, like piling them up somewhere, they're typically turning them for a profit. So in some situations, it may be a good fit for people, but in most situations, they're leaving some money on the table. So if that's an option that you're looking at least reach out first so we can give you some guidance.
And they don't necessarily have to sign on the dotted line with you. You can just offer them great information.
Call, ask any question that you have. Knowledge is power. If you don't know, just call and ask.
Call Lauren at 314-775-0684 or email her hello@laurenrisleyrealty.com. Hey, Heidi here with my friend Craig from AirServe, neighborly of St. Louis's Heating and Cooling Division. Craig, air conditioning season is on the way. What can folks do to ensure their AC delivers cold air all summer long?
AirServe's $99 precision tune-up includes a 42-point safety check, system cleaning, freon check, and drain line cleaning, ensuring your AC runs efficiently and provides cold, clean air all summer. Claim this offer by May 31st by calling 636-234-5678 or visiting AIRESERV.com.
I heard something about an eclipse on Monday.
Oh, yeah, and it'll be during our show, I Want to See It, where we were for opening day at the Cardinals game, 360 at the ballpark, be on the roof. Join us as well. Be a lot of fun. There'll be great food, libations, and, of course, the Carney Show from noon until 3. So join us to check out the eclipse. Bring your glasses. We'll see you then.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back. Woohoo! Loving being in the station today. It's 9:30 here on the Big 550 KTRS. This is Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
And as we like to say, we're willing, waiting, and wanting to answer your questions. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line.
And speaking of that text line, we've got a texter coming in, and he says, I'm getting numerous bogus texts saying I need to withdraw my Bitcoin. Well, obviously ignore those texts, sir.
Yeah, you don't want to. I've heard that you don't want to respond to those texts, and also if someone calls from a spam number, it's best to let it go to voicemail to find out who it is, because they can capture information from you by just answering texts or answering phone calls. So
right, I've heard that using these AI tools, if they get enough of your voice, they can rework. Yes, that's going to lead to real chaos in the out years. Like now it's in its infancy, but verifying that you're talking to who you think you're talking to is going to become much more problematic in the years. I mean, it's going to.
That's why voicemail is so great, and most people have moved to their cell phone, so you have automatic caller ID. If you don't recognize the number, either, I always like to say, they'll leave a message if it's important, or they'll call back. So I know you love to answer the phone, Dad. That's like your number one favorite activity.
Yes. But I am becoming a little more educated, because now a lot of these calls will come up on my. First of all, I'm not. My phone isn't an appendage for me. Okay?
Yes, it's the most expensive paperweight on the planet.
Thank you. And if it comes up and it says spam risk, well, I'm not answering it. But also, if it doesn't come up as spam risk, you're right. If it's important, they'll leave a message. If it's not important, then move on.
Exactly.
If I don't answer any phone calls from.
You're even worse than that guy.
Practically. Yeah, I just don't. I grew up in a time when we didn't even have cell phones, so it's very easy for me to just say, no, I don't need to carry this around. I certainly don't need to, get a neck spasm constantly looking at it. So.
I'd make an age joke, but that would age me, so we'll just have to pass on that.
I understand. So. Are we out of our text
for the moment?
Well, good. Then let's go to an email, if we might.
Let's.
This was fun because most of our clients, when they send email to us, usually what they'll do is, a lot of times they'll send it to me, but they copy an Aaron, knowing because Aaron is
attached to the phone.
She is Madam Quick Draw when it comes to returning calls, etc., which is just great. So. And this is about a client that had a question about a non-qualified annuity. Again, we're talking about an annuity contract that had been purchased with after-tax money. Mm-hmm. And so with these and we see these a lot. Either people have inherited these from mom and dad. We've seen them where they bought these many, many years ago. Maybe they had a CD they renewed, or they received a part of inheritance. An insurance agent talked them into purchasing a savings contract.
Wouldn't it be great?
Wouldn't it be great to be able to earn interest, income tax
deferred,
and then you take it out when you want? IRS isn't going to force you to do that.
Until you're 90, right?
Now, we know that. I'm not going to do disclosure as well as you do, honey, but the assets of an annuity contract are based upon or backed by the assets of the life insurance company that you're purchasing it from. So naturally,
you got to have faith in the insurance company.
Right. And generally we do, because almost everything that we have is insured, whether it's auto, homeowners, etc. You think about it, you think that, hey, well, say State Farm, they're going to pay the claim.
And you just want to make sure
when they have your money, though, right?
And you just want to make sure that all of these insurance companies have ratings that you can look up and review. So you want to make sure you're using an A+ or an A rated company, and that is a risk that you take, that they may not be able to pay the claim. However, in most cases, if you're using an A+ rated company, that's not going to be a predominant issue.
So let's get into this one a little bit, because I thought it was interesting, something I felt it would be appropriate to share with our audience, our listeners today.
And this is like in real time because it happened this morning.
It really did, which was kind of cool. So this client happened to have put in, we moved an annuity contract from one insurance company to another. We were able to do that under what they call a 1035 tax-free exchange, because we went from one insurance company to another. Originally, the client had put $63,000 into the contract. When we moved it to another company, it had grown to $83,000. There was no income tax incidence because he hadn't made any pull out of the money. We just created a new contract for him. Mm-hmm. Contract's been in force for about 10 years. It's grown a little bit, which has been great. And his question was, how do I get a hold of the money? It's now worth over $100,000. My basis in this is 60. Is this going to be? He had many questions. First one was, when I pull money out,
is it taxable?
Mm-hmm.
For how long?
Until he gets to the principal, because he's going to have to pull all that interest out first.
That's a great point.
So what I like to do, or the analogy I like to use with clients, because to me it makes a little bit of sense, is that what you're doing is just imagine a glass of water.
Mm-hmm.
You pour in a certain amount. We'll call that your principal. And then if you decide to add some flavoring to it or pour something else into it, what happens is that goes on the top. What the IRS says is that if you're going to draw money from an annuity contract, like most investments that you have, what happens is that you aren't allowed to poke a hole in the bottom to drain out your principal. First, you have to drain it out of the top.
And that's true if you're using a withdrawal strategy versus if you've annuitized the contract, right?
Well, we'll talk a little bit more than detail, but what's interesting is that we know this client's making distributions on a monthly basis. And I know Aaron was cool as you reminded him that any distribution that's made from this contract, as Rob had put very well, until we drain all the interest out first, it's going to be taxable to him in the same way an IRA distribution would be.
So he wouldn't see, if we replaced his income from the IRA or a portion of it with the income from this contract, he's not going to see a change in his taxes because they're both essentially equally taxable. Anything out of an IRA is going to be 100% taxable to him. Anything out of the annuity to start until he gets back to his original basis is going to be fully taxable.
Well, even if he had annuitized, there would still be an exclusion ratio where,
Well, you're right, Rob, but let's go back for a minute, because we'll obviously want to talk about that option. But let's go back. What would be a reason that he would want to drain the annuity contract possibly before, as compared to draining his IRA? Assuming he wasn't subject to required minimum distributions.
Because
the IRA could continue to grow.
And also he's creating a tax trap for his beneficiaries in that they're going to have to pay taxes on the growth of the annuity even when it's passed on, unlike after-tax assets that might be held in a brokerage account or in your bank account or in a CD, where you get a step up in basis to the fair market value of those securities. The annuity that are non-qualified annuities don't have that same tax treatment. Somebody still has to pay the taxes.
No step up in basis.
Well, no, but so let's go a little further into the weeds for our listeners, because I know they love when we do this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume our client died tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The client inherits, and let's just assume that at this point in time, his spouse is not alive. So his children would be inheriting the annuity as well as they would be inheriting the IRA.
Right.
We know that under the new IRA distribution rules for beneficiary IRAs, how long do they have to drain that IRA?
10 years.
Okay, so under the annuity distribution rules, how long do they have to drain that annuity?
5.
5. Okay, so let's think about this. Does it maybe make more sense? Same dollars. And I love that you came up with this, honey, in the email. Was that, hey, maybe we're going to tap this source first. It would be more beneficial for you until we're forced to
tap the IRAs.
Exactly. And at the same time, once we, as Rob was saying, once we get through the interest part, well, now we've got a source, if we want to, now we have a source of capital, a source of income that's non-taxable. And also if that, and just to say for fun here, we'd actually successfully drained all the interest out of the contract and the person and our client dies. Since we're down to the principal part, when his children inherit the principal part,
then that's tax-free.
Exactly, because that's return of capital. So it's to me, this has always been, I always think about this as a war game. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. We have the Internal Revenue Service where, it's a friendly war though, because they own the board, they own the pieces. We have the opportunity to move things around in a way that, as long as we're doing it not to violate the rules, we can have fun.
This is like your analogy. Know how things work on a starship.
Exactly. And so so this can be fun in terms of doing planning for clients. In this situation, it really was, because we know that this particular client of ours, he loves to make sure that as he's pulling out income is that he isn't effectively moving
his tax bracket
exactly into new effective tax rates. And so we're always kind of tweaking at the end. So now we really have another source of capital that we're considering for him. Mm-hmm. To be able to use as compared to doing further IRA distributions, which is cool. And I guess I'm kind of thinking, it always comes to me about the thought about, how people are worried about making distributions from their plans. And so they do Roth conversions as a way to reduce the level of the percentage of RMDs they're taking, because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, again, it's only a 4% rate when this client of ours has to take the money. So it is a significant amount.
Well, also, most people aren't retired long enough to have a substantial enough impact on those required minimum distributions before they get to required minimum distribution age, without pushing them into a much higher tax bracket. Because if you're doing $10,000 to $20,000 distributions to stay below, let's say, the effective rate of 15%, you're going to have to do that for quite some time, because even if you converted $100,000, that's $4,000 of an initial required minimum distribution. Which, how much are you going to pay in taxes there? Not a lot.
Bupkis. I mean, that's a. I mean, we don't like to poo-poo on money, but it's not a lot. I mean, if you think, like you were saying, honey, right? If I left that $20,000 as an example in my IRA, and then I had to take an RMD on that, 4%, that's $80.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's $800. Who cares? As compared to the taxable income of that $20,000 distribution, which could be as much as $6,000 to $8,000.
Yikes!
Right.
It stings.
It's kind of fun, but these non-qualified annuities can be tricky because, again, the advantage of it, the way these are sold, is that we have growth, and
without taxes,
without income tax deferred growth. Mm-hmm. You actually really do get to retain the control over when you make distributions. The IRS doesn't have a minimum distribution age like they do with IRAs, and it feels good. And especially if you're able to lock in decent rates of interest, at least today you are, 4.5%, 5%, for a period of time. Not a bad deal.
Right.
But ultimately, like you said, honey, and again, you're parroting what I've said for many years, which is these can be tax traps.
On top of the IRA assets,
That's
which
right.
aren't tax traps, but no one paid taxes on those.
And it's like and to me, it's really been always the same argument or theory, which is with the use of annuities. There's two ends of annuity contracts. There's always the front end, which is the accumulation phase, and then there's the distribution phase. You really need to have a plan for both phases when you purchase a contract. How am I going to put it? I know I'm going to put money in, but how am I going to get it out? And if you don't have a plan to get it out, then the problem is you do have a plan, which is you're leaving it for your children or your spouse, whomever would be beneficiaries, to have to deal with this, because it's like anything else. as interest continues to accrue, and it's tax deferred interest, and you're not being forced to take it out, it's like, do I have to? Well, the answer is you don't have to. You don't really have to. But you want to. It's sort of like the Roth conversion concept. Most people do it, or they really want to do it because they want a portion of these assets to go tax-free to their kids or grandkids. Reasonable thing to do.
Right.
But you're paying the taxes.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole point. With these contracts, you're really in a situation where you have to make the same decision. Do you want to pay it for them? Is there a use for that money? And or B, it's more fun to get the tax-free side.
Well, we have talked long enough, not only to get to our second break of the hour, but when we get back, we have several text questions on deck that I know you're going to enjoy.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
Living with chronic or severe hip or knee pain can affect every aspect of your life. Dr. Christopher Palmer with Signature Orthopedics may be able to help you get back to the things you love. Dr. Palmer specializes in robotic hip and knee replacements using a minimally invasive technology to provide patients with relief from arthritis and joint pain. Less invasive means less painful and faster recovery times. Pain from arthritis and joint degeneration can be constant or come and go. It's common for patients to try medication and other conservative treatments to treat their knee or hip pain. If you haven't experienced adequate relief from those treatment options, you may be a candidate for a Mako Smart Robotics partial or total knee or hip replacement, which may provide you with relief from your joint pain. Learn more at drpalmerortho.com. You don't have to live with joint pain. Go to drpalmerortho.com to learn more and schedule your appointment and get back to the things you love.
No one has done more for new development projects in St. Louis than my guys Bob and Steve O'Loughlin. From Westport Plaza to the Cheshire to Union Station and their newest place, The Pitch, perfectly situated next to the new soccer stadium at Union Station. The Pitch is a beautiful athletic club and tavern. Food and drink you can't wait to celebrate. The Pitch is where sports fans go to get the best seats in the house and elevated eats to go with them. Find The Pitch online at thepitch-stl.com.
Hi, this is Stuart Rosenblum, president of Stewart's American Mortgage.
Stewie!
Mortgages are the biggest investment that a person's going to make in their life, yet most people don't know anything about it. Tune in for Mortgages and More with Stewie. That's me, where we can go over all the different types of mortgage programs in simple terms. You, me,
Stewie!
You'll become an expert after the first show.
Listen to Mortgages and More with Stewie, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on KTRS. The Big 550 KTRS has lots of personality. From the most trusted live and local personalities in St. Louis, McGraw-Millhaven, Jennifer Blome and Wendy Weiss, John Carney and Julie Buck, Heidi Glaus and Josh Gilbert, Brendan Weesey, and Farmer Dave Schumacher.
Just tell me how you like my personality.
Only on the Big 550 KTRS.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, 9:48 here on the Big 550 KTRS Talk Radio St. Louis. We're here to answer your questions to your text at 314-931-5877 or the super filling up. God, do we love that. KTRS text line at 84126.
And our next texter writes, my wife and I want to sell a commercial property we've had for over 25 years. How can we avoid capital gains, or at least some of them?
Change your name.
It's terrible. Give a reasonable response.
Well, the bottom line is that you can't truly avoid gain. The only way that you could help yourselves here is if you were to do, I think it's called a 1031 exchange, where if you exchange one property for another.
It has to be a like property, though, so it would have to be another commercial building.
So if we're talking about how do I reduce the income tax impact of the capital gains that are going to have, and the thing is, not only do you have capital gains, but you also have the depreciation recapture because you were writing that off over the period of time. First thing you can do is not get rid of the building and let your kids inherit it, and they get it at a step-up basis, which is woohoo, very cool. Which is why Aaron's looking at me going, "You're never selling our building, Dad." Okay.
Well, you could sell it because it won't be my capital gains.
True. But if you are going to sell this building, a couple things you can do. Number one is I would certainly ask if you're still actively at work, are you making the maximum contribution to your retirement plan? And or if your spouse is also working, are you doing that for them as well? If not, what I would do is,
well, if you're living off of IRA distributions, you could stop those and live off of your capital gains.
Right. But if you're actively still at work, let's just say for some reason that you weren't putting in the maximum of $24,000 each. Cool. Guess what? Load up your contributions. That will reduce your taxable income.
Well, you'll still have the capital gains taxes, but it'll be offset by your income tax reduction, basically, or part of it will be offset.
The second thing, the only other thing that really is significant here that you could do is charitable deductions.
And there are some ways that you don't have to be 100% charitable in this year if you're making a sale. You can use the donor advised funds, which allow you to take the full deduction the year that you contribute those funds into the donor advised fund, but you don't actually have to donate the money out in that year. So for example, if you had a capital gain of $50,000, but you're making $5,000 donations to your church every year, you've prepaid essentially 10 years of your $5,000 charitable distributions. You just get to take it in the year you have the largest gain.
Yes, I totally agree. And in this case, if it's a commercial piece of property, it could be very substantial.
Right.
And so what are the things that you might want to consider doing? I mean, you could create this, it's called a DAF. You might think you're daffy for doing it, but in fact, you really aren't, because whether it's with the gains from a property or whether it's even highly appreciated stock or mutual funds or bonds, making those a contribution of those amounts directly to your donor advised fund, letting the donor fund sell it so you bypass the capital gain on that. And then what happens is, as Aaron was saying, the cool part is you get to give out the money as you want. You get the deduction on the front end, reducing your taxable income, but you don't get a deduction on the back end, which is as the money is distributed. And the IRS doesn't say you have to, unlike the Bill or Hillary or Trump Foundation, you don't have to send out a certain minimum amount each year. Mm-hmm. You're permitted to do that, and you have really good companies that can administer and, frankly, continue to invest that money. So you're really looking at charitable stuff. We're also looking at retirement plan contributions. Otherwise,
or like we said, if you happen to already be retired, maybe you're restructuring your income a bit based on your capital gains. So if you're making distributions from IRA assets and you're not required minimum distribution age, you might stop that, live off a portion or all of those gains for the year.
You know, again, my last comment on this is really what Aaron, I think, was really leading to what Aaron was talking about. The more charitable you are,
the less taxes you pay.
The less taxes you will pay, because in reality, what you really could be doing is prepaying or pre-funding future distributions in 1 year. Maybe, like you're saying, take 10 years worth of
your tithing,
religious contributions, and you're dumping it in 1 year and then handing the money out as it would be. Or you want to do something for St. Jude's or the Wounded Warriors. I mean, you're doing things that you're currently doing. This can be a very tax-effective way for you to do that. And frankly, if your gain's big enough and you weren't itemizing your deductions previously, you'll be able to do that now.
What about a charitable remainder trust? Would they have to move the building into that in order to reap the benefits of it, or could they sell the building and put the proceeds into it?
They could do it in that way, but what happens is, with a charitable remainder trust, we're really talking about an advanced estate planning technique. And the idea here is that you're putting property into a trust, in exchange for an income stream.
Right.
And that income stream is based on your life.
Okay.
So there's a part of it which is actually considered to be what they call a remainder interest. And so you get to deduct over, and maximum is 5 years, a certain amount, not all of it, but a certain amount of the contribution, because in exchange you're getting another piece of it on the back end.
Okay.
You do have the ability, based upon the skill level of your lawyer, to do what's called, you could either have distributions happen immediately. You could actually have them deferred for a period of time and let them grow. And that's up to you. Most people are familiar with these. They're called they're called charitable gift annuities. You're not really, it's actually not purchasing a product, but I know a lot of the hospitals do this where it's called, give us a hunk of money and we'll give you an income stream back.
Mm-hmm. Or the house or
whatever it might be, et cetera. So, but you can't actually do that with commercial property, because the truth is that charitable organism or that trust that you're doing doesn't really want to get rid of it. And in most cases, and also what happens is that it can obviously slow the process. So a DAF, as we were discussing, is a heck of a lot cleaner, easier.
Less expensive too, because you need an attorney to create the.
Yeah, the DAF costs you zero. I mean, you get the joinder, you get the joinder agreements for free.
Mm-hmm.
You can set it up online. We've obviously helped many of our clients do that as well.
Many fund companies offer donor-advised funds. They also offer you the opportunity to reinvest. The funds are no longer in your estate, but you're able to have investment direction, or if you have an advisor, they have investment direction. So theoretically, you could end up donating more than you ever put into the donor-advised fund, because you are able to have those assets continue to grow. No taxes to you. You just get to continue to make your charitable donations.
Good question. Let's get the next one.
And our next texter writes, been retired for a while, and I've seen my investments decrease after a stock market crash. Is pulling 25% of the gains out to put in a 10-year treasury paying between 4.5% and 5% logical? I just don't want to wait 4 to 5 years to break even after a crash. I still have about 50% in growth and value funds. Thank you.
Well, if you have 25% gains, that's pretty good, right?
I think they actually had losses. And so the question was, do I take gains if I've realized them and move them in? And the answer is that's rebalancing.
Sure.
I think what would happen is that you really just want to be conscious about keeping a mix that makes sense for you.
Over a long period of time.
Right. I mean, this gets down to the whole notion of getting out is easy, getting in is very difficult.
Right.
So rebalancing by pulling gains off the table, knowing when to hold them and when to fold them, isn't walking away from the table. It's folding a hand and then waiting for the next one to go on. So I think that if you go through a rebalancing scheme, you'll find that emotionally it's a lot easier for you.
Right.
Because those unexpected up days that pull the market up, and or even get into a momentum situation like we are right now. Honestly, we're in a momentum. You have to think about it. You can go, why? I don't understand. I hate the president. Whatever the laws. I mean, you're looking at stuff on TV going, this isn't the country I know. How can the markets go up? I mean, it
it's
doesn't
like
matter.
the weather. It is what it is.
That's right. So staying invested over long periods of time is how you're able to build your wealth. There's nothing wrong with being more conservative, but that's really a mix change. And frankly, it isn't necessarily a permanent mix change.
And I would also say there are risks involved with moving into treasuries, because just depending upon the direction of interest rates, you could see depreciation on the value of treasuries if things go the opposite direction, meaning we see higher rates versus lower, or we see continued rates versus a decrease in rates.
And we could have a discussion about that this morning, because interestingly enough, we had a very, very
strong,
assuming that they don't readjust it, which they've been doing all these.
Quite a bit I read.
When you dig into those numbers, they're a little bit misleading, because I think 71,000 of those jobs were government jobs.
Which means our tax dollars at work.
Well, the other thing is that a lot of these jobs are not full-time jobs, they're actually part-time jobs.
Right.
So, but at the end of the day, what the Federal Reserve does is that the way that they're able to help the economy or hurt the economy or slow down the economy, they slow down the economy by raising rates. You slow down, hopefully, inflation, which is consumption, by raising rates. Well, right now we're in this rate hold situation. The market's hoping that 2 or 3 rate cuts this year. Probably isn't going to happen. We could see the opposite occur. You literally, if the economy continues to be strong, and we're not going with inflation, guess what? We'll talk about this.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back to our second hour of Straight Talk on Retirement. We're here to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or send us a text at 84126 from the text line. And for those of you that are regular listeners, you know that the beginning of our second hour is Medicare.
Because you care, we talk Medicare.
Every single week. And so if you have Medicare questions, now is the time. 84126 on the text line. We will try to get to every single one of them. Or again, you're more than welcome. I think people are enjoying the sunny weather this morning. 314-931-5877. Can give us a call.
Still a chill in the air, but we probably have like another week or 10 days before spring really has sprung.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Corey. This is a great topic because, we don't have tons of questions about accessing Medicare through a disability, but there are some cool provisions available to those of you that do access Medicare through disability.
And Corey is turning 65 in May, but he's been receiving disability since 2005, allowing him to have Medicare. He's decided to take a Plan F when he first came onto Medicare. At the beginning, Corey was only paying $140 monthly to Transamerica. Over the years, his premium has continued to increase. Now, nearly 20 years later, he's paying $350 monthly for the exact same plan.
Right, and this is like what you always talk about, Rob, that escalator.
You're on it, and it
doesn't go down. It only goes up.
Not getting any better. Corey said he needed help as soon as possible. He said he prefers to keep his Plan F, but the cost has gotten so high that he's feeling overwhelmed. He was also nervous about dropping Plan F because he's heard that if he ever got out of Plan F, he could never get back in. So Corey wanted to know if there's anything we could do to help him during the open enrollment period to get a more affordable plan.
Well, here's the great thing. First of all, Corey doesn't have to wait until open enrollment. For individuals that have accessed Medicare through disability, so that means that if you're on Social Security disability for 24 months or 2 years, you automatically, regardless of your age, have access to Medicare benefits. So 20 years ago, in 2005, when Corey first began disability, he began Medicare in 2007. So that's not bad because you're able to access your Medicare benefits early.
But then when he turns 65, he gets another initial election period.
Exactly. They call that your initial election period 2 because you actually received 2 initial election periods. His original election period was in 2007 when he had first access to Medicare benefits. Now he has another initial election period, which is what everyone is used to, that 7 months that surrounds the month that you turn 65.
And you just stole my thunder. This works the same way his initial election period would work. He still has that 7-month window. It also means he'll be able to pick any plan without medical underwriting, and he'll get guaranteed acceptance.
So this means that Corey can avoid the open enrollment period by joining a new plan on the first of the month of his birth, which is May. And it's going to save him 8 months of that higher cost of the Medicare premium if he decides to go with another supplement. Or if he decides to take a look at a Medicare Advantage plan, that's also an option for him. So option number 1, Corey can stay on the Plan F that he's grandfathered into, or he can even switch to another insurance company using his initial election period.
Wow. And he would reduce his monthly rate to the standard rate at that point.
That's right. So he gets to reset his premium based on a 65-year-old, someone turning 65 in May of this year. And that rate for a male turning 65 is about $240 a month, right?
Yeah, so Corey's going to save about $110 a month just by switching.
to another Plan F. So that means he's going to be able to maintain the exact same benefits that he had before. And in fact, we had a question about this last week. And if you happen to be in the state of Missouri and you're on a Plan F, now you're not going to be able to reset your benefits the same way Corey is. But if you want to take a look and see if any other company is offering Plan F, meaning they sold it in the past and they are still taking that birthday rule, that means you have to be in the state of Missouri because unfortunately Illinois residents don't have access to this special benefit. You can actually switch during the month that you enrolled in the plan to another Plan F without any medical underwriting as well, just as an aside.
But Corey has some other options too. He can also use his initial election period to drop Plan F and get a new Cadillac Plan G.
So the only difference between Plan F and Plan G is the Medicare Part B deductible, which is $240 for 2024. So if we do the math here, the Plan G rate is $175 a month. So what does that work out to annually?
That is $2,100 a month, plus the deductible, which would bring us to $2,340 for the year.
And the Plan F that he could have switched to was $240 a month, so that equals how much?
Almost $2,900.
So we could save him $110 a month just by switching to another Plan F. Or if he decides to switch to Plan G instead, we're going to save the $110 a month plus a little extra, meaning he's only going to spend $2,100 a year plus the $240 deductible, and he's still less than the Plan F premium.
You know, it makes sense to me here, and I know you've talked about this many times over the years, honey. The difference between Plan F premium and G is about $65 a month.
Right.
If we multiply that by 12, that's about $750 a year. The deductible is only $240.
So why prepay that? Right. Why prepay that?
I mean, you're prepaying for it for the privilege of having a plan that they don't actually sell anymore. So going to G, assuming he wanted to stay on a standard plan, I think would really make a lot of sense for him.
But I'm sure all of our listeners that have heard us talking about Medicare Advantage plans for weeks and weeks and years are thinking $2,800 a year is just about what those maximum out of pockets are on Medicare Advantage plans.
Worst year of your life. Maximum out of pocket.
So that means that, and we don't have a lot of information on Corey's current usage, but even if Corey was seeing the doctor every other day and he spent the maximum out of pocket for the year, he's going to spend on the Aetna Gold Advantage plans $2,800, so he'll save $80 strictly in medical expenses. Or if he takes advantage of all of the extra benefits that a variety of the Medicare Advantage plans have.
Hearing aid, over-the-counter, dental.
The fitness benefit that you love, Dad, so much.
The allowance.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Or just the silver sneakers benefit.
Well, you're looking at thousands of dollars a year of benefits that, frankly, he would be accessing that he couldn't do from a traditional plan.
Right.
And he's just really saving money on things he's already doing.
Exactly. And the way that I like to think about it, even if Corey hit his maximum out of pocket on the Medicare Advantage plan, with most Medicare Advantage plans at this point, they're going to be returning money to him.
Right. Or it would be a very, very close to a break even.
Which would be great.
It doesn't get better than that. I mean, I think that the best thing for Corey was he reached out. I mean, that was really the big deal. And
of course,
once we have more, I'm sure once Frank Ellis, our Medicare specialist, has more information about his specific use of his current plan, he's going to really end up getting the best result. The worst result is he's saving over $100 a month.
Right.
Just by being able to change to being able to go down to the bottom of the escalator again because of his second annual enrollment period.
Yes.
But otherwise, maybe going to a new plan, even staying with G, guess what? You're saving a ton of dough.
Going to Plan G, you're going to save
a lot of Oreos when he comes to visit.
He's not coming to see you, though. He's going to come see Frank, and we don't know if Frank likes Oreos.
Well, I've almost talked him into showing up at this point. Come on.
That's true. And if you have been talked into showing up, you can send us an email, Franklin at jblfinancial.com, or you can go to our website, jblfinancial.com, click on the Contact Us button, and say, hey, I want to chat with Frank about Medicare. And Kelly, our office manager, will give you a call, set up a day and time that works for you, send out our medical questionnaire that just asks for your physicians and your prescriptions so Frank can have a targeted conversation about your needs on Medicare.
It's easy to do, right?
That's right.
Give us our office a call, 314-863-0008, or you can go to our website, jblfinancial.com, hit the Contact Us section. Tell us a little bit about yourself and say, hey, I want to come in for a coaching session with Frank. Easy to do. Our staff will call you, text you back, email you back, set up a time.
That's right.
It's fun. It's free. Best coffee in town. Free parking at our offices in beautiful downtown Olivet, Missouri, 2 blocks west of I-170 on Olive Street Road.
Yeah, definitely want to have Frank help save you some money.
That's right. Without any change to your benefits, which is really cool. Or maybe a big change to your benefits, but in a positive way.
That's right. And our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And before we take our Medicare texts, that I'm sure they're up there, honey, I did get somebody that texted me.
I don't even believe it.
They have my secret.
They have your secret
They have my
number.
secret cell phone number. They texted me while I was outside on break. And it was fun. The client said, Jeff, welcome back. Thank you. What are the best things about being back in town?
What are the best things, Dad?
Well, I'll tell you there's 2 things. Number 1 is I love going to the office. I love working. I love actually being there, being with the staff, seeing clients directly instead of over the phone, and getting back into the swing of things. It really couldn't be more fun for me. Number 2, no coyotes.
Well, it's so fun for you that you even have an appointment after the show.
Exactly. But honestly, no
Can't wait.
coyotes. I can walk my dog without having to take a pitching wedge out with me.
That is nice.
I mean, it's
Well, do you
people say
even
it's
have
funny.
to walk the dog in your beautiful backyard? You just send her out there.
Well, I have to
be
follow. I have to
free?
follow around to keep it,
Keep it
free. Keep the yard free from dog waste.
I see.
It makes it easier to do that. And dogs are interesting because they don't always like to go in the same place every time. So instead of having a
designated area.
Exactly.
I see.
You get it. But the truth is, it's fun to be back. Love being here in the studio with the 2 of you.
We like having you back.
And thank you for not giving away my room. So
Well, we didn't have a chance to get your office set up in the basement yet.
Nice.
Other than a stray piece of furniture that I
Had to be carted downstairs immediately.
it has to go. It just became part of the room after a while. I didn't even think of it.
You know, Dad,
Not my room, honey.
I was just going to say, I want you to know that I know you so well that when, we got a new piece of office furniture and we moved the old piece to Dad's office because no one was in there for months and months. And I said to Rob.
The Spectre was in there.
I said to Rob, you're going to have to move that downstairs before Dad gets back because he's not going to like it. And then we forgot. And I forgot to remind him.
And I put it in a place where it looked like it was part of the scenery.
No, it didn't. Because the minute he walked in, it was like the Predator. He scanned the room and was like, this doesn't belong. It needs to go.
One of these is not like the other.
I think it was within the first 3 minutes.
No, and I thought I thought I did it a nice way, Rob, didn't I?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, sure, but that's not the point.
And I was able to put on my big boy pants, and I didn't even need Frank's help to get it out of there.
Downstairs. It's nice to have a few extra men around the office, cart things up and down the steps.
It's good to have a young back, so thank you, Rob.
We do have a quick question about Corey.
And our texter writes, would Corey have the 1-year trial period if he went to an Advantage plan to go back to the supplement?
Yes,
he would.
That's right. So this is called the free look. You get your free look period at any point as long as you're your first year on Medicare Advantage. So that would have been Corey's first year on Medicare Advantage. He would have the full year from May 1st of this year all the way till April 31st of next year. Or is there 31 days in April? If there are.
I think there's only 28.
No, that's February, right? Well, anyway.
Yes.
You get till the end of April next year to make the decision that he would like to go back to his Plan F supplement. Now, most likely he'd have he would have to go back to the original Plan F with the company that he was with previously, and then during one of his anniversary dates, he could make the switch to a lower Plan F premium. So you want to be careful. He would want to be careful about that piece of it. We would help him with those steps, but yes, he would have the free look.
Well, he'd do a two-step, right? First, he go to the new sup plan, lowers premium, and then if he decides to jump off,
right,
then he jumps off, and then in theory, he would jump back on.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Well done.
And we've got one more text question. Says, hey, Jeff, do you know with any reasonable certainty if the fitness plan on Aetna covers the golf lessons?
So I think what we should do here, Dad, is you already take golf lessons. So how about you take a lesson, we'll submit the reimbursement, and we will report back if Aetna covers it. I'm relatively confident that they should because it's almost like having an athletic trainer, but...
I'm happy to be the guinea pig for all of our golfer fans out there, so there's no question about it. I'll be happy to do that. I am getting ready to submit my greens fees, which is cool.
We'll see.
And I'm also submitting fees for buckets of golf balls that I've hit.
But don't put the full $1,200 in because we need you to take a golf lesson and submit that reimbursement.
Oh, no. You remember, I was in 16, you guys are going to laugh out there, $16 18-hole golfville and only $2 for balls. So I have a pretty good way to go.
Okay, good, because we're going to need you to, we're going to have not just reasonable certainty, we're going to have 100.
Absolute certainty.
I like that. Absolute certainty on that.
What was that show where the man would say, I am not uncertain? Billions.
Billions, that's right.
So let me ask a question here again, which is golf related, but you may or may not know the answer.
Okay.
They're paying for gym memberships, right?
Well, silver sneakers, as long as it's covered under silver sneakers, you get the gym membership.
And we know they're not doing country club dues. We can understand that. But what about locker fees?
You have a locker fee.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is do you think
let's submit it.
We're doing the full Monty here. I'm going to try to submit. Right. I'm going to try to submit everything, and we'll see as the guinea pig what they'll cover.
I don't know if they'll cover the locker because I think this is supposed to be directly fitness related. For example, you need new sneakers, you need new golf shoes. You're going to be actually putting those on your feet theoretically to
So they'll cover
exercise.
the golf. So they'll cover the golf shoes, maybe.
They will cover the golf shoes. So this is also a little.
They
bit
would
of,
even cover clubs, wouldn't they?
Yes. So this is a little bit of a nuance here, which is they will cover all different types of athletic shoes, but not multiple pairs of the same kind of athletic shoe. So, for example, you could buy walking shoes, you could buy golf shoes, you could buy pickleball shoes, but you can't buy two of the same shoe and have them both covered.
So they're covering golf clubs.
They're covering fishing rods.
Didn't someone get a very expensive fishing rod?
Yes, they did. They almost used their full 12. I don't know what. Maybe it catches the fish for you.
Catch a shark.
Well, because new drivers can run $500 to $700.
It's your $1,200 to use as you please, I suppose. I mean, underneath the rules.
We'll find out. We're going to see driver this year, irons next year.
So, like in a 13-month period, in theory, you could rack up $2,400 because you got the first 12 and then your first month of the new plan, assuming that all the particulars stayed the same.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. The wheels are turning.
Right.
Well, I mean, what the beauty here again is we're talking about
maximizing.
Well, not only that, but it's called maximizing our reimbursements to what we're actually doing.
Right.
You know, you're actively playing pickleball, or you're actively golfing, or you're doing exercise, whatever it be. We'll see what happens. I mean, but the truth is that this is really what healthcare is all about, the preventative side, as well as not just when you're sick.
Another thing that they won't cover is clothing. So no athletic clothing, no golf shirts, no fancy Lululemon pants.
I don't need any.
Any chance that you segue into the pickleball universe?
No.
Why not? It wasn't fun?
Well, because of all the stories of seeing my friends falling over. Okay, and damaging themselves. Injuries. I cannot do anything to wreck my already incredibly fragile golf game.
Gotcha. Golf comes first.
Exactly.
That's right. That is right. You know what else comes first?
Our first break of the hour.
Let's do it.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
This is David Sherwood of Sherwood's Forest, the Inside Out Show's tree guy. You may have heard the name Fertilome. They've been around for nearly 50 years and they offer a wide variety of fertilizers, weed prevention, weed killers, plant foods, and much more. You won't find Fertilome in the big box stores. You'll find it at your local nursery and garden centers. Fertilome won't force you into a multi-step fertilizer program. Their classic lawn food has slow-release nitrogen and trace micronutrients that will help your lawn grow greener and healthier throughout the season. I've met with the folks at Fertilome and we stock it at Sherwood's Forest. I'm convinced they can help your lawn, garden, and plants grow into something to be proud of. To find a Fertilome dealer near you, just go to fertilome.com and click on the Find a Dealer link and enter your zip code to find a garden center that stocks the Fertilome product that's right for your needs, including their natural expanded product offerings. That's fertilome.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's 1026 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Rob, I did have a question that came across the beam for me.
For you?
Which said, Joe says, I'm turning 73 this year. What are the key dates I need to be aware of when taking my first RMD, required minimum distribution?
Well, the first date you're going to want to be aware of is December 31st of last year of 2023, because your RMD is going to be calculated using the account value that was in your IRA on December 31st of last year. The next date that you're going to want to be aware of would be December 31st of this year, because that's the deadline to take your RMD, unless, being it's your first year you're RMD eligible, you can push that off to April 15th. But if you do that, then you'll have to take two RMDs, one for last year and one for the current year you're in. So just a little important subtlety to wrap your mind around.
This is totally bizarre because Rob woke up this morning and this was the first thing out of his mouth. Am I correct that the first year you turned 73, you could take your RMD in the following year? I swear to God, that's the first thing he asked me this morning.
And then why would you do that? Why not just take it in the year to keep it nice and...
Well, let's use the example of one of our texters. They wanted to sell that commercial piece of real estate. They're going to have a very large capital gain this year. If it just so happened that one of them was turning 73 this year, they may say, we don't want all of that taxable money.
We're going to push it off into the next year. No, it's a nice little...
Sure. What's probably more common is someone that is actually actively employed, and that this is their last year of employment. So therefore, since this could be their highest earning year forever, maybe
moving forward,
maybe they would put it off. But usually, it's very unusual for us to see, and we frankly very rarely ever recommend that people push two into the second year.
Right. It would have to be a specific reason.
But I thought that was, I thought that was a good question.
It's almost like you guys are like connected.
Great minds think alike.
So crazy.
I'm sorry. I was thinking,
why is that the first thing that he thought of in the morning?
Yeah, I was hoping he's going to think about like 2 or 3.
We're not falling for that. I'm not falling for it.
Okay, Team Jeff. Time to chime in here.
Activate.
Right.
2 or 3.
Activate.
2 or 3. It used to be 10.
10? It's like a basketball team.
2 of them.
Need farm hands.
Farm hands.
Yeah, it's
strapping young men.
I think that's why the school system is the way it is. Like, you get off in the summers because, it's harvesting.
That's right.
So, there's a lot of legacies that we're living with today that, directly come from those eras.
Talking about legacies, I did receive a question last week, which I also wanted to share. And was that one of our clients said that they told us that they recently had received $450,000 of stock in mutual funds from their dad's estate.
Was it in an IRA?
Good question. The answer was no. None of
Even better.
Even better. And their question was, do I owe taxes if I were to sell these securities?
Depends.
But he gets a step up in basis from the time of his relative's death. So in theory, if there was a taxable event, it would be a relatively small one, or it would be a relatively small loss if it depreciated in that interregnum.
That's right. So you get the step up in basis to the fair market value at the date of your relative's passing. When you make the sale, it will be the difference between what you sell it for and that date of the value.
Yeah, and why this is, I think it was a great question, was recently, in the last several months, really the last 6 months, the market turned around.
Sure.
And we've seen some pretty significant and very nice gains over that time period. In this particular client's case, mom died in July.
Of last year.
So the markets really hadn't started to move. And there was no sales made. But now when we look at those account values today, they've risen, I would call significantly, a little more than 5%. And so what are the taxes based on? Well, it isn't based on, as you said, it isn't mom's basis. It was your basis now, which is the date of death value.
Which was June of
which
last
was July.
year. I'm sorry, July of last year.
We took the July date as compared to what it would be today. And anything above that number would be the taxable gain. And again, in their case, it would be a short-term capital gain.
Because they inherited it in less than a year.
Yes, right. You have to hold it for a year to do that.
So even if mom had held it for significantly more than a year, it's when you inherited it is when it begins the either long versus short-term capital gains marker.
And, this could be obviously another planning question, thought process here, which is how long, if I do have a position that's grown, and I have a small gain, do I wait until 12 months and 1 day so that the tax treatment on the gain is long-term capital gains versus short-term capital gains, which is really ordinary income and basically could move you up and could be effectively much more expensive?
Well, it probably depends either, number one, on your tax bracket, number two, where you are in the bracket, and three, what the gain is. If you're talking about $150 of a gain, even if you do a short-term capital gain, it's $1.50 is really relatively small versus you could have substantial gains, or if you're right at the brink of a new tax bracket, you might consider that.
Yeah. More game.
I just keep thinking about this, the run coming out of 2022 and then
through 2023.
Yeah, right. And if the way we ended 2022, this was like the last thing on anyone's mind. And it brings me back to what that gentleman was saying before about, when do I get back in or how do I get back in? It's a lot easier to get out than it is to get back in, because now, if you're sitting here and we're, 5 or 7% from, the all-time highs and some of these indexes, you probably don't want to buy, but, we could be making new highs next week, and then you certainly don't want to buy. So, again, it's very easy to get out. And if you paid attention to all the news cycles at the time, there was terrible war in Ukraine, there was inflation, supply chain, and, does Biden know what planet he's on? Like, it just got to be to the point where how can the market, like your dad was saying, how can it go up? But yet here we are.
Right.
So, these are important things to consider when you talk about, should I pull money? I mean, rebalancing is one thing, but getting out completely, that's quite another. And it leaves you with a whole set of other dilemmas to face with how do you get back in? Especially when we talk about the fact that you could be retired longer than you worked.
Right. And I think especially in this year, it becomes a little more acute because we're in an election year. And I think that causes anxiety for us as citizens because we want to see what each of us individually wants to happen, regardless of your political leanings. You want something, the best for the country one way or the other. And it creates emotional anxiety on that front, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that is linked to what the market's going to do.
I was going to say, let's take this from the
theoretical
to something a little bit more practical.
Okay.
Which isn't unusual. So last week I got a phone call from a client of ours who recently was changing their employment.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a retirement plan account, a reasonably substantial one at their
current or former employer.
And they're enrolling in their new 401k with their new employer. And naturally, they asked us to take a look at what their options were, and we were going to give them some
education,
as we call it, on doing that. And we were having this conversation, which is we're not in a growth economy. I want to say goodbye to the current president. I don't know if it's going to really happen. What's going to be in the future? What about the war, et cetera, et cetera? I'm a little nervous. Do I get more conservative? Or if I was conservative, how do I get back in? So let's talk about a couple of ways that you could get back in. I don't want to call them baby steps, but I think it would be prudent.
Well, for individuals that are making contributions, that's the easiest way
That's the easy way, number one, right?
Which is you could make your current portfolio, so what you are moving from your previous employer to the new employer, you could make that slightly more conservative, meaning current investments, but then future contributions could be more aggressive than what you've set the current portfolio to be.
Which is a greater mix of stock to bonds to cash, right?
So that's easy for people that have new money to contribute.
That's easy for you because it's not your money, but that's certainly one way to do it. That would be easy.
Enough.
That would be easy way. On top of that, either using the same approach Aaron is talking about, maybe in conjunction with dollar cost average back in the old money to what your old configuration was. So as an example, let's just say that your current portfolio is sitting at 40% equities, 60% mutual funds, 60% bond, stable value, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And you really know that you want to be more like 70%
equity, mutual funds.
30% because you want to be in what we would call a moderate mix. Well, what you could do is you say, hey, you know what? Once a quarter on this day, first day of the quarter, we're going to be mechanical. I'm going to take 20% and I'm going to increase my allocation by I'm going to increase my equity allocation by 10% every single quarter.
On top of your future allocation.
Exactly. And so that way, maybe by the end of the calendar year, beginning of the first quarter next year, after the election, you'll have gotten back to where you want to be. And certainly what you're doing is looking at maybe rebalancing that portfolio after the end of the year, after the election, et cetera. Being mechanical and doing it in that way takes a lot of the emotion out. When you think about it, as Aaron's talking about, if you use your current contributions, you're now dollar cost averaging in theory 12 times a year, once a month when the employer contributions are being made. If you then go to quarterly, as I'm suggesting, or even maybe a truncated monthly schedule, you're doing it some more. So doing it mechanically, you're buying sometimes when the market's up. You're buying, frankly, you're liking it if it's down. Right. You want to buy when things are at a discount so that when they recover, whoop,
your increased number of shares are more valuable.
That's right. And the gains seem to be more real. And then what happens is you rebalance and you capture those gains and you get back in your portfolio and say, okay, great. Let's start the race again.
I love that. A mechanical rules-based stratagem as opposed to trying to go with animal spirits. And, if you try to invest by the news cycle, I don't think you're going to do as well because, like I said, coming out of 2022, it was horrendous.
Well, let's just take a look at yesterday, which was, on Thursday, if you watched CNBC, if you read the paper, if you looked at anyone commentating.
Strong job report, we're doomed.
Right. What happened yesterday? The market was up. So following the news cycle is not necessarily your key to victory here. The key is to be mechanical, to have rules and to follow them. And that's in a lot of cases why people engage advisors, because we set the rules and then we follow them. And we attempt to take as much emotion as possible out of these decisions because we set the parameters.
I would even make it a little bit simpler and say, betting against the American economy, it's been a bad bet in the past. It's most likely going to be a very bad bet in the future.
Rob, I think you make a really good point, and I even take it to a greater extreme than that.
A greater extreme.
Yeah. I think every investor has to ask themselves whether they believe that the market is at the highest point that it's going to be
forever.
2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years down the road. If this is the highest point of the market forever, you should be out because in theory you're selling at the top. But it's not going to be that way. We know that technology continues to increase.
Historically, it's never been that way.
That's right. Whether we like what's happening in the education system in terms of wokeness or not, our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, et cetera, have more information, access to information and technology, and frankly, they're smarter because they're able to do that. Productivity continues to grow. So is this economy in the best place it's ever going to be? I would tell you no, and I'm a homer, but I still believe it's no. And that's why getting invested and being invested makes sense to do that. And you're right, Robin, and you make a really good point here. And I'm just going to say it. This is the safest, the freest, the fairest economy on the planet. The least amount of government intervention, even though we may feel like there's too much government now, as compared to any other place in the world. This is where the world comes to have their money invested because it's safe. We have laws.
Well, also,
we have courts.
We see that with the strength of the U.S. dollar. Every time there's a crisis, everyone flocks to the safety of the dollar, which is why, during COVID, especially when everyone predicted the inflation that we have now, we didn't because there was such a strain on the dollar because it was so scarce.
And what economy recovers the fastest from these type of black swan, whatever you might call them, events? It's this economy. So get invested, be invested. It doesn't mean that you have to take all of your chips to the casino and be overly aggressive.
Right. You want to match your risk tolerance,
right.
But that risk tolerance should also match your goals.
Exactly. And frankly, we believe that having an advisor, having someone that's accountable and keeping you accountable to your goals can really help you. And we know statistically it's shown that you're just always more successful because 2 heads are always better than 1.
Sure.
And in this case, you get 3. Woo-hoo.
Look at that.
Amen. I think we should take our second break of the hour. Let's come back, we're going to answer your texts and your phone calls. Let's light them up, kiddies. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line. We'll be right back.
On Friday, April 19th, the Cardinals host the Milwaukee Brewers. That night, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will leave with their very own bobblehead of the young and upcoming Cardinals star Jordan Walker. This collectible bobblehead is presented by Central Bank and is sure to be a must-have for your bobblehead collection. That's Friday, April 19th. The Cardinals, the Brewers, and the Jordan Walker bobblehead. For tickets or details, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Jordan Walker, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There's the 8th strikeout for Lynn.
The Cardinals host the Brewers the weekend of April 19th through the 21st. Join us at the ballpark on Saturday, April 20th, when 25,000 fans 16 and older will take home their very own Cardinals full zip jacket courtesy of Mercy. This exclusive Navy jacket sports the STL logo on the chest and it has many elevated features. That's Saturday, April 20th. For tickets and more information, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Lance Lynn, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back for our last segment. We've got about 15 minutes left here. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877. 84126 from the text line. I'm having fun today.
We're having fun, too. We're glad you're back.
Well, thank you. I hope the listeners are enjoying it.
Technology can be stressful, remote and all that.
You really, I got to tell you, I laugh about it, we joke about it, etc., but it is disconcerting.
Disconcerting.
Good word.
To watch a coyote run under your window 2 minutes, 2 feet from your head. Okay, that looks about 1.5 times the size Lassie does, or any German Shepherd that you see, and you've just taken your dog out 45 seconds beforehand.
He smelled it. He's on the hunt.
Every day. I mean, we're seeing these every single day, so that's kind of fun. But
not anymore.
I would imagine, God forbid, you killed one of those beasts.
You could be in prison.
Right. The state of California is like, they're pro-criminal out there.
I was certainly close to looking at but I had a pitching wedge for self-protection.
Self-protection.
Everybody walks around with these. I mean, telling it's funny. People are walking around with mace and sticks and whistles, and it's a crazy world in California.
I hear that bear spray is particularly effective against out of control pit bulls, Rottweiler. I mean, It's made for bears, so I mean, obviously.
And it has a stronger spray because you want to be farther from the bear than most other predators.
Yeah, you don't really want to get close enough to be able to spray something.
Some bear spray. I just thought that was.
But Rob, I know that we have. How are we doing on the text line?
Oh, we've got.
It's flying in. They've been listening. Thank you so much to our listeners.
And our next texter writes, "Good morning. My wife and I max out our 401ks and Roth IRAs, including catch-up options. Very nice. We are 2 to 4 years away from retirement. We have never managed to pull the trigger on opening up a brokerage account, relying more on 401k and Roth IRAs. Do you see that as a mistake? I understand this is a very generic question."
I would say this is not uncommon. In fact, just to be also generic, probably 85% of the individuals that we see that are getting ready to retire or already retired did not have investments outside of their retirement plans at work because conventional wisdom and really the strength of your tax deductions over time told you to stuff as much as you can, as quickly as you can, into those pre-tax accounts, into 401ks. And also, you're in the lowest costing investment environment that you can be in. So most people, especially when you started, if you think about it, most people didn't start truly ramping up their savings into retirement until late 40s, mostly early 50s, because you had so many pulls on your income. Your income was lower because you were newer to the workforce. So you didn't have massive amounts of time to amass money outside of what you were already automatically doing at work. So I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but if you're 2 to 4 years from retirement, it's not too late to say we want to take a piece of what we are not putting in our 401ks, what we're not putting in our Roths, to create another bucket of tax preferred income or investments.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they already have one. It's called Roth.
Right. Roth is great.
You really do have one. I mean, you'll be able to pull that money income tax free out as long as the account's been there for 5 years. What I would suggest here is that if you're maxing out your contributions, as you've been saying, because of income limits, opening up we'll call it brokerage, investment advisory account that's after tax could be beneficial for you for at least 2 reasons. Number one is you've got another pool of liquidity that you can access if you need it. But then number two, maybe more importantly, is if you have children, grandchildren, whatever it might be, they will eventually inherit those assets after you and your husband pass, income tax free. Just like Roth.
Just like Roth.
But without the distribution rules of Roth.
Even better.
So good. Again, with many folks that we see that only have been putting money into tax deductible accounts, they don't have liquidity.
Because you got to pay the taxes to get the cash.
Right. And so in many cases, if we find that they have enough assets inside their retirement plans to do their thing, a lot of times we're directing money away from the retirement plan contributions and into a brokerage account or into a vault, a savings account for them. But if your liquidity is covered, you've got Roth, so you've been doing well.
Absolutely. Technology can be good, but it can't make up for the 2-hour wake-up call difference out in California, huh?
You're right.
Oh my gosh, and if you go out to Florida, you're going to be just like living large. You'll have an hour later. You get to sleep in.
It's funny. The 2-hour difference, the time isn't as bad as it is with the sunlight. Because usually it wasn't until 5 minutes before the show that actually dawn broke. So I'm in the dark, waiting for the show to start, and it's going to be in the dark. So yes, but the best part is no coyotes.
This is crazy.
Well, it is crazy. I mean, it's crazy. You have to walk outside and take a look, and can I walk it's crazy. All good.
And our next texter writes, if I have several investments in my IRA, how should I determine which to sell when executing a required minimum distribution? That's a great question.
It's a common one. What do you think?
I think rebalancing your portfolio would be number one. That would be a source. What do you have to sell either to take gains, or alternative number two?
Is there something you don't like in there anymore?
Right. I don't think that it's unreasonable to ask yourself the question, and this is something that Aaron and I and Rob do every single day, which is, do we like what we have? If we don't like it, there's no reason to keep it, because the problem is that you're giving up the opportunity cost of investing in something that you could like that could do better. So I would certainly suggest, if you want to sell your dogs because you think they have fleas, that's a good idea. Or number two, rebalancing your portfolio to get you back into balance to create that cash to do those RMDs. That would be the other way.
Or you could also, the third way would just be a proportional reduction of whatever is in your portfolio.
There you go.
Oh, wait, we've got my favorite Medicare question on deck.
And our next texter writes, can you give a 101 definition of the differences between an Advantage plan and a supplement? Which is better?
So the 101 definition, this is going to be real simple, guys. Medicare Advantage is pay as you go. Medicare Supplement is pay up front. So with a supplement, number one, you're piecing your Medicare together. Everybody starts with Medicare Part A and B, comes directly from the government. It makes up 80% of your medical expenses. You can either elect to cover the last 20% by paying the insurance company every single month. If you happen to hear the beginning of the second hour of our show, we talked about Corey, who would be a 65-year-old male turning 65 this year, pay about $175 a month for his coverage on top of your Medicare Part B premium. You're going to pay that in the healthiest year of your life or the sickest year of your life, because you're going to pay that up front, and the insurance company is going to cover everything on the medical side for you except for a $240 deductible. In the alternative, you can elect a Medicare Advantage plan. You still pay for your Medicare Part B, so you get A and B from the government, but instead of paying the insurance company every single month, you are only going to pay when you access care. So it'll look a lot like what your current plan is, most likely, meaning you have co-pays when you go to the doctor, co-insurance if you're admitted to the hospital, and it's called a defined benefit plan, because you know what all of those benefits are, meaning you know what it's going to cost you for every single service that you utilize. You have a maximum out of pocket, which is the most that you can spend in 1 year. You're probably familiar with that terminology. The nice thing about Medicare Advantage, though, is most of the policies, almost every single one of them, don't have deductibles. So you have first dollar coverage, which means you don't have to spend out of pocket a certain amount before you get access to those defined benefits available to you. So I would say the 101 definition, the way I like to think about it, is if you elect Medicare Advantage, it'll be the first time in your life that you have comprehensive coverage that you only pay for when you use it. Or if you elect a supplement, you will pay every single month. However, for most people, it's significantly less than what you would be paying for a private individual policy, or if you happen to work for a smaller employer, it still may be less than what you're paying in premium right now as your main component.
That's a very, very clinical definition that you've pieced together there. Well, I just can't imagine why you wouldn't bet on yourself. You know what I mean? Because if you're gonna pay that supplement and you're gonna make that monthly payment, why not say, you know what, this isn't gonna be the year that I'm going to the doctor every other Thursday. I'm actually only gonna go in twice a year, or I'm gonna bet on myself that it won't be the worst year health-wise of my life. So why not take a zero premium Medicare Advantage plan and try and pocket that money? And, as we talk about that escalator, the supplement plan that you have today, that you might have today at 65 or 66, by the time you're 67, 68, 69, 72, it's going up.
And I would also argue that the supplement premium is going to go up, but the benefits never change. They are identical to what they were 20 years ago, identical to what they were essentially when they were originally created. The Medicare Advantage plans continue to improve their benefits, so I would say you're paying less and getting more with Medicare Advantage versus the supplement, but you could even split the difference. Dad, you came up with this, 13 years ago when I joined you, which was if you set to the side your Medicare, your supplemental plans premium, so $175 every month, you literally siphoned that off into a separate bank account. And you pulled from that when you had your co-pays or your co-insurance, or you had to spend money on your Medicare Advantage plan. Most likely you are going to have a balance, if not the full amount, left in that bank account when you get to the end of the year. So if you're someone that likes the certainty of knowing that you have a consistent payment to make, you can recreate that for yourself. And after several years, you may say, I'm not going to keep putting money into that bank account anymore, because on average, people in Missouri and Illinois, that's where we saw the statistical data from for this particular survey, hit their maximum amount of pocket on Medicare Advantage plans one time every 7 years. So that means you get to bank a portion or all of your premium for 6 years before you ever have to pay out that full $3,500.
Well, honey, it was funny because I remember for some of the first clients that you were visiting with, and we were starting into this journey, whatever it was, 10 plus years ago, is I would say to them, and it's because people are going to laugh when they listen, the office co-pays were $20 at the time.
Right.
And I said, let's just take the premium in $20 bills and stack it on top of the table. Mm-hmm. And every time you go and see the doctor, take a 20 off the table to pay him. See how much money you have left. And there were a few of them, they didn't actually do that, but they did what you were really talking about. And they were just like, oh my God.
Well, I even had an early morning meeting on Saturday, and the gentleman said to me, I really like the idea of not paying when I go to the doctor. And I was like, but
you're paying up front.
Your face is just, like, you're just shocked and appalled. Well,
I am appalled.
Well, just take your previous year. If you're somebody that you saw your primary care doctor 2 times, let's even throw in a specialist visit. So you saw somebody 3 times. If you had a $3,000 premium annually, you just made $1,000 copay. You just didn't do it when you walked into the doctor's office. The Medicare Advantage plans, with almost every single one, the primary care doctor visits, and not just your annual checkup. It's any visit that you have. So they call them issue visits if it's outside of your annual checkup. It's still a $0 copay with these Medicare Advantage plans. So you really aren't spending anything.
So the specialist copays, what do they run, around $30?
They run anywhere from $25 to $45.
Okay, so let's say for fun it was $30, because this will just make the math easy.
Mm-hmm, so
you have a $3,000 out of pocket.
100 visits.
Yeah, there's
100
no way.
visits.
Not even grandma goes to the doctor 100 times.
That's basically 2 times a week, but you get 2 weeks off.
Christmas and New Year's.
It's right, Chris, and that you're not seeing 2 times a week that you're seeing. 2 times a week.
You don't want to make it your part-time job to go to the doctor.
No. I mean, the gas, you can't afford it. So.
What? Well, and if you had Medicare Advantage, they give you free doctor's rides, 24 one-way trips,
Well, this obviously has been fun. Let's take one more text, and I know that we're going to have to run away here real soon.
And our texter writes, welcome back, Jeff. We looked at a Medicare Advantage plan with Frank last fall, only to find he isn't a representative for that company in Illinois. Is there a way we can do?
Is there something we can do to change that? Absolutely, there is something that we can do to change that. Just let us know. Send send an email through the website, jblfinancial.com. We'll take a look and we will get Frank contracted there, because we can usually contract with anyone that is sold in Missouri and Illinois, and we're happy to help with that, so we can help you. And please, if you need some help, give our office a call, 314-863-0008.
And we would love to see you next week here on the Big 550, KTRS, Talk Radio, St. Louis.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.